And so, Mia and Mike, are you guys ready for me to throw some questions at you guys?
Yes. So
Fire away.
Mia, this one's for you. What would you bring to space if you could bring anything?
Okay, if I could bring an inanimate object, it'd probably be a Rubik's Cube. If I could bring an animate object, it'd be my cat.
How fast are you at actually doing the Rubik's Cube?
Well, I can solve a simple algorithm, but doing like the crazy like super fast ones, I'm getting there.
I can't even do the Rubik's Cube myself. And Mike, what would you bring to space if you could bring anything? And also, what have you brought in the past?
Well, I wouldn't bring a Rubik's Cube because it would just frustrate me. I can't do that on Earth, so I wouldn't bring that to space. But my hat's off to both of you who would. No, it's very interesting what you're going to bring to space. I mean, if I really could bring anything, I would bring my family with me. You get to bring your friends because you fly in space with some of your friends, so that's pretty cool. But as far as bringing objects, it is interesting. You can bring some meaningful things. I brought some things like from my elementary school, a shirt that all the students signed, and some things from my high school and in college. And so you want to pay tribute to them, so you can fly something in their honor. But for me, a very special thing that I flew, Snoopy, I played astronaut with him when I was 6, and I hung on to him, and I brought him to space for real. I brought Snoopy to space for real when I get a chance to go. And there he is floating next to me on the space shuttle. You can see the Earth through the windows there. So we're in space, and there he is as my co-pilot again, flying in space. So yeah, I brought my Snoopy with me. I figured it's the right thing to do. And he's right here. He's Snoopy right here. There's a bunch of astronauts on the show right now. You've got Miya, of course, who plays one. You've got me, and you've got Snoopy. Snoopy's been in space as well with me, so I brought him with me.
That's awesome. If I could bring anything, I'd bring internet, but that's not possible.
We have that.
You can bring internet?
Well, you do on the space station now. Yeah, you have on the space shuttle and in the first few years of the space station, and this now is 20 years we've had people in space on the space station. So we were talking that a lot of people viewing this and others who are on the show beside me, for most of your lives, or maybe all of your lives, there's been people in space on the space station. When we first started out, we were able to communicate through satellites and different programs, email and so on. Twitter, we got that as well. But we did not have an internet connection until the last few years. But now we have internet. It started off slow, but it's actually pretty fast right now. So I don't know what you would have on the astronaut show, but we had pretty good internet on the space station. At least now we do.
Yeah, we didn't on the show. I don't think we took that into account. We didn't really have anything. We had an AI system, but really other than that.
Well, once you get further away from the planet, it becomes harder to stay connected like that. And we were able to set that up in low Earth orbit. If you're going to go beyond that, like to the moon and so on, it's going to be harder to bring that with you. So that's a valid thing, Pathra. If you're going to go further away beyond low Earth orbit, you're going to want to have internet with you if you could. And you might not be able to do that.
Yeah, so that's why if you can't bring friends and family, there's internet so you can keep in touch.
Yeah. Keeping in touch is important.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask Miya if you could bring any food to space, what kind of food would it be?
If I could bring any food to space, I would probably bring either candy corn, because I really like candy corn, or some instant ramen.
Noodle sounds good. What about you, Mike? What's it like eating in space?
Well, believe it or not, I have some space food with me. And I didn't plan this. I just happen to have some in my office, and I can show you what it looked like. We have, this is dehydrated food. This is turkey tetrazzini. So this is a bag of turkey tetrazzini. Pretty good stuff. and this is what a drink bag looked like. This one flew in space with me. This is a drink bag with some powdered drink in it. You add water, and you have a straw that goes on the top, just like a drink bag that you'd have on Earth.
Yeah.
And here's something you'll recognize probably. This is a bag of peanuts. So just like regular peanuts. So the candy corn is probably possible. I didn't have any of that, but I like the food. It's easy to cook, and you add some spices to it, and you're all set. So I enjoy it. I'm one of the few astronauts who gained a little weight while I was in space, believe it or not. That's how much I like the food in space. But I did want to bring some special food. I wanted to bring some special cookies that I liked. And I got to bring some biscotti, some Italian cookies from my favorite bakery in Brooklyn. And we're able to bite-sized cookies. They need to be bite-sized so we can put them in our mouth and not create a lot of crumbs. And so that was a special batch of cookies that I brought with me in space. So special requests are possible.
Yeah, that's.
And what's it like eating in space, though? Oh, sorry, Miya, go ahead.
No, like the packages that you showed, those are actually pretty similar to what ours looked like, actually. Like super vacuum sealed and.
Yeah.
So everything has to be vacuum sealed.
Yeah, that's what ours.
This is applesauce. Yep.
What's it like actually eating in space? Like you were talking about, you had to bring certain foods so it wouldn't create crumbs.
Yeah, so that's part of it. And Miya just said need to be vacuum sealed. I don't know if this is what you mean, Miya, but this is what we call these thermal stabilized food, what you see right here. And this is a package of applesauce. So this is packed really well. But you have to be careful because you don't want stuff floats and you don't want to make a mess. And crumbs are really a problem because crumbs can float around and they can you can inhale them or they can get in your eye. You never know where those things are going to go. I got hit in the eye with a hot drop of coffee. Like what's going on? Because a drop of coffee got loose from my friend's drink bag. So you want to be really careful. You don't want to make a mess. Most of our food has a liquidy consistency to it because in space there's no gravity and things will fall to the ground on Earth, right? But in space, by having a little bit of liquid, that liquid causes something called surface tension, which allows it to stick to your spoon. So when you go into your bag of food, like this one here, and cut it open and then stick your spoon in, the liquidy material, like in applesauce is a good example, that'll stick to the spoon so it won't create a big mess. But you have to be careful when you eat in space. You don't want to get, stuff starts floating around, it can be a problem.
Yeah, it sounds pretty tricky. Miya, what is it like to emulate zero gravity on set? And if you could go on a real spacewalk, would you?
For the spacewalk, I mean, I probably would. I'm really enticed and very interested in space exploration. I have been for my entire life. So getting to be on set of the astronauts and getting to play an astronaut and be in space was just like super cool. Emulating zero gravity, I feel like once you get the basic things like looking weightless, a tip from one of our stunt coordinators slash movement directors was make it seem like there's balloons under your arms. Because it's a different type of floating, really. It is. Like there's the type of floating where you're just like flying up and down, and then there's like the actual like floaty. And so we practiced a lot. It was super interesting though. It was really fun because we actually got to do some flying. We were on wires, which is like basically we have a harness on and just have these like two little wires that go like 20, 30 feet up in the air. And it's just super cool. Like just super cool to get to fly and do flips.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to experience like how you can go to those places where you can experience
like
maybe like
the
right. I haven't done anything like that, and that's on my list. I really want to do that. And so, Mike, what is your experience with? Oh, sorry, Miya.
iFly is a little different though. Like iFly is like masses and masses of air coming at you, but I would suggest being in zero gravity is more like being in a pool. The same kind of like the pressure. the same kind of
Is
thing.
there a place where you could like try out zero gravity anywhere?
There might be. I'm not entirely sure. I think that's a good question for
Maybe only at
Mr. Astronaut.
NASA.
Yeah.
And Mike, what is
Yeah,
your
there are.
experience with spacewalks?
Yeah, so well, as far as the zero gravity goes, it's as Miya said, it's hard to recreate that on the ground. And as astronauts, when you're going to fly to space, you want to practice as best you can. And so Miya said it really well. Getting one way we try to do that, or at least simulate it, is in a pool, where we do train for our spacewalks underwater. And in water, if you throw a rock in the water, it's going to sink, right? But also things can float on the water. So there's the force of gravity, but there's also the buoyancy force, what we call the water. That's why things can float. And so we try to balance that with weights and flotation in our spacesuits when we practice. So we try to be what we call neutrally buoyant, which is a pretty fancy word for just floating there in the water. And that is similar to the way that we would float in space. The only way you can really experience, though, other than that, and that's still, gravity's still working on you when you do that, is you can also go in an airplane, in a zero gravity airplane, which it still is affected by gravity, but what it does is it does these big arcs, almost like a roller coaster. And so it goes up and then it starts coming down. And when it comes down, everything as it's going toward the ground, everything inside is in free fall. And you can only do that for about 30 seconds or so, and then you've got to go back up the other direction. So that's the only way to really experience zero gravity without leaving the atmosphere. But it's a lot of fun. And the training that Miya did, the way she described it, is just like we did it on Earth. We also were held up by wires from time to time in our different training exercises to get the idea of what it's like to move around. Because when you push off of something in zero gravity, you're going to go somewhere. And even the slightest little push will send you on your way. And sometimes you don't want that to happen. Sometimes it's a fun thing, but a lot of times you don't want that to happen. So it takes a long time to get used to it. You're kind of almost like learning to walk again, learning to move around again. You're like a baby moving around again. That's what I felt like in space. And the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah. I definitely think that definitely applies to the wire work too, because I remember the first time I went up on wires, I was super psyched. But you have to use your core a lot, but not only that, you have to find that balance to keep you upright, so you're not tipping too far forward and you're not tipping too far back. Because if you go back, well, then you're upside down. You go forward, you're just going to keep flipping and flipping and flipping.
That sounds like fun.
It's a lot harder on the wire, Miya. If you can do the wire, you can handle zero gravity, no problem.
So you gotta work out, Miya. It sounds like.
Oh yeah, we definitely got a lot of physical training. Yeah, I mean, I wish I wish I'd done it more so that I could have gotten a six pack. But I'm still happy with what I got.
What is it like working on the space production and with Imagine Entertainment, Miya?
Imagine Entertainment, they were super sweet, super amazing. We have a great team, not only at Imagine, but at Nick too. Working on the set was super fun. We had such a great time, me and the other kids. We had such a great time with the crew on the sets, because those sets were really functioning sets and they had a lot of care put behind them. And so every detail made it feel like we were on a spaceship. And, when I heard at the beginning of the project, when I heard Ron Howard and Imagine was behind it, Ron Howard did Apollo 13 and all that, I was super psyched because, again, I love anything having to do with space. And so hearing that and getting to really be a part of this project was super big. But yeah, working with everybody, super amazing. Working on the sets, super fun. And now in 5 days, we get to see the everything come together, and it's just super exciting.